Hey, what's up, everybody? Hey, what's up, everybody? JayC here. Welcome to a Thursday night live stream. We've got some cool things in the house tonight. I've got the Frogmonger over in the reviews station, so we'll take a quick look at him here tonight. But let us see who's in the house. I see Lord Vengar is in the house. Michael's in the house. What's up? Some Bull Nation. What's up? Paul Morales, Henry G. Henry G says he got his Sky Striker that he won here, a year ago now? So glad you got that, Henry. I got mine as well. In fact, I have mine right here. So it's actually pretty cool. I've still been kind of playing around with it. I am going to do a full review of this. Hopefully I'll have up tomorrow. But it's definitely, I feel like, if you like the original, you'll definitely like this one, and they definitely kind of improved upon some things from the original Sky Striker. So definitely pretty cool addition to the G.I. Joe collection, I would say. Blake is in the house. What's up? Neil says Classified killed it yesterday. Yeah, I gotta agree with you, and I gotta say that Hasbro marketing maybe needs to think about if you're gonna have a Star Wars live stream, that maybe you shouldn't do GI Joe classified reveals on the same day. Maybe they should have waited and done the GI Joe classified reveals today. I don't know, but I agree. The GI Joe classified stuff I found much more exciting than any of the Star Wars stuff they showed off yesterday. Chris is in the house. What's up? Adam Shaggy's in the house. What's up? 3M. Everett's here tonight. Welcome, Everett. Cryo Boy in Scotland. What's up, man? Lone Dragons is in the house. So it looks like we got a pretty full house here. Beans in the house. So Henry, how did you like your Sky Striker? Have you opened it yet? Cryo Boy says Hot Wheels Select Razor Crest is his new favorite. I have not seen that one, or at least not in hand. So, but glad you like that. Michael says hopes Ant-Man movie is wave is revealed this coming Wednesday. We're gonna get something from Marvel Legends next week going up for pre-order. So I don't know if it's the Ant-Man wave. I mean, that's the most logical thing, but we'll see. Mr. Cheeseburger's in the house. What's up, man? Neil says he adores his Sky Striker. Nice. All right, so I have not opened any of the figures out of the packaging. I'm still debating on whether I want to open the figures. I feel like maybe I'll keep, because I don't really have a place for O-ring figures to display O-ring figures. So I have my 25th anniversary Ace figure here, so I'm assuming that these will fit inside the cockpit of the Sky Striker, but I have not actually tested that out yet. So I am just now noticing that he does have a, no, he doesn't. So the 25th anniversary guys, I guess, don't have holes on their backs. Hadn't really thought about that. So the chairs have little pegs that stick out here. So let's see if we can still make it work. So See if we can get him in there. Kind of a tight fit. I guess I never really thought about. Yeah, so the 25th anniversary figures are actually, a decent bit taller than the O-ring ones. So he's not really going to fit in there in the front chair. So I guess if you want to put your 25th anniversary ace in there, oops, knock the missile off. If you're going to put your 25th anniversary try and put it in the Sky Striker, I guess you're going to have to take one of the chairs out and then he'll fit in there. But he's not going to fit in that front chair because he's too big. So if you're wondering, if your 25th anniversary figures would go in here, it's not a perfect fit. Like I said, you can take out one of the chairs and then put him in the back chair essentially, but they gave you this extra piece where you could attach two missiles. So like this thing pulls off. So they give you a single one that will only hold one missile. But they gave you this one which, is different from the original Sky Striker, so you can put an extra missile, or I put the bomb. I guess these are bombs. So I put the bomb on there. And I don't have the fuel tank on there because I did have it on the stand. So, but the fuel tank would fit in this middle one here. So, and I do like how like the landing gear is no longer connected to the wings. So if you extend the wings, the landing gear does not come out. If you want the landing gear to come out, you pull the little hook there, which, is for an aircraft carrier, which of course we don't have unless you have a flag. But I feel like when they planned this, they were hoping. I don't think the O-ring stuff, the recent O-ring stuff that they did, that they offered through Hasbro Pulse, I don't think that sold as well as they had hoped for, because I feel like they were hoping that was gonna become like a big thing and that they could do more stuff, and maybe even down the road like a HasLab flag for the 3 3/4 inch stuff. But I don't think the stuff has sold well enough, so I feel like that's probably never going to happen. Edward says, "How does the plastic feel on the Sky Striker?" Feels fine to me. I mean, very much like the original one, so no issues with me. I heard some people say they had problems putting the wings on and they were breaking, but mine went on real easy and I had absolutely no problem. So, um, plastic to me is pretty good. I've gone with the black wings. I always like the black wings from the artwork as opposed to the gray color ones that match the rest of the plane. So I haven't decided if I'm going to put decals on. I hate putting decals on. I never get them on straight. So I haven't decided if I'm going to put the decals on. I probably will at least put the ones on the back fins here, but I'm terrible at putting decals on. Mr. Cheeseburger says if they make a flag, he'll turn off a kidney. Because that hook, that aircraft carrier hook was not on the original Sky Striker, so that's something they specifically added to this version. And I feel like they did that just in case, maybe if they were able to do an updated flag one day, but I don't know. I still haven't really figured out where I'm going to put this. I may hang it upstairs with my 25th anniversary. I may hang it from the ceiling near my 25th anniversary figures where I have them displayed. They added this little chin gun here on the front too. That's a new addition that wasn't on the original one. They gave us 2 canopies. I'm not sure why we got a second canopy. I don't know. That's confused me. I'm not sure why they gave us 2 canopies. Chris says try it. Yeah. I don't have very steady hands, so like they always, or like I just like I'll like put it on there and it's like it'll look crooked, and then like if you don't get it on there right just the first time, then it becomes a pain in the ass. Rashid says, "Yeah, gun. I used to try and build like Star Trek models, and I was never very good at that either." Todd Smith says, "Super 7 maybe we'll do a flag." Brian Flynn said they're considering something big for 3.75. That would be interesting. The reaction, I don't know, man. I guess a reaction flag would work with regular G.I. Joe figures, I guess. I don't collect the reaction stuff, so I did get a shipping notice, well, email. I got an email from Big Bad Toy Store today saying that the Super 7 Thunder Tank was going to be shipping very soon. So I guess that's going to be coming out here maybe this month. So keeping my fingers crossed on that. Though again, I have no idea exactly where I'm going to put that. Oh snap. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I got the first 2-pack that they released, the O-Ring 2-pack, and I was like, you know what, man? This is not worth the money. And I'm bit, I actually prefer the 25th anniversary figures. O-rings were great for the day, but I'm not one of these guys that's like hung up on O-rings. So I actually prefer the design of the 25th anniversary figures. But yeah, after I got that first 2-pack, that O-ring 2-pack, I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be collecting this line. So I didn't get any of the others. But I'm glad I got, the failsafe, the Ruthel Wayne guy, which was on the artwork of the original figure, or Sky Striker, I should say. So it's kind of cool. This is the first time we've ever gotten this guy in action figure form. So, and I've never understood, why does Ace look like he's wearing an astronaut suit as opposed to like, I mean, when I think of this model, a jet for the Sky Striker, I think of like Top Gun, and I think about how like, Tom Cruise looked in Top Gun. I never really understood why Ace didn't look more like that. And instead, I've always felt like it looks like he's wearing an astronaut suit as opposed to a jet fighter suit. I mean, I'm sure that's probably based on some type of jet fighter suit, but it's never been my favorite look for Ace. Graham says Super 7 flag would probably cost $1,000 and won't show up for 5 years. Yeah, a flag, even reaction size, probably would not be cheap. And I figured they probably would want to start with something maybe not quite as big as a flag. You know, I could see them doing their own his tank or something like that for the reaction line. Though, again, I mean, I've never tried it myself, but I assume the regular 3 3/4 inch vehicles would pretty much work with reaction, right? So if you already have the Hasbro his tank for the 3 3/4 inch quarter line, are you going to really want a reaction one? I don't know. Maybe the size doesn't quite work or something. I don't know. Curtis says it's a high altitude suit. Well, I get that, but I mean, I don't know. To me, it just looks like he's wearing, like, I always thought he looked like an astronaut. When I was a kid, I was like, ooh, cool, an astronaut. And it was funny also, like in the cartoon, when anyone else, like Ace, would be wearing his outfit, but anybody else that would be seen flying a Sky Striker, they just wore their normal clothes. No one else needed to put on a flight suit or anything like that. They just jumped in the jet and took off. They might have a helmet, but they didn't require any special jumpsuits or anything, or oxygen or anything like that. Henry says maybe they're going to do the pit. Yeah. G.I. Joe headquarters. Super 7 says place. Well, how would they know? They haven't really done any play sets. What's up, Road Pig? Everett says, Everett's talking turtles. Would love to get weapons that are actually like real. Yeah, probably a lot of safety regulations. Would have some difficulties with safety regulations on that, Everett. Bean says in some interview or another, Brian Flynn mentioned he'd like to do the giant cobra flying fortress from the original opening credits. Now that actually though, I'm trying to think because there's been a couple of different ones, but I would, if they were going to do something like that, I'd rather they do like the flying Cobra aircraft carrier thing that they had, like in the, I think it was in the G.I. Joe movie, but in other episodes as well. I kind of would rather see that than like the UFO, like there's the UFO one. So I'm not sure which one he was referring to, but there's one that they had, one that looked like kind of like a flying aircraft carrier, kind of like Shield, but only with like a big cobra head on it. JC, how much do the last four GI Joe renders will cost? Like, how much will the figures cost? I don't think the renders cost you anything, but the figures, I don't know. Like the scrap iron's probably going to be some type of deluxe. Obviously, the one with the trouble bubble, so those are going to be more expensive. Those, like the Televiper and trouble bubble, is probably going to cost similar to what the clutch and the ram cycle cost. As far as scrap iron, I don't know if it might be a little bit cheaper, or it might end up being about that same price. I'm not sure. The others, I assume, are just going to cost whatever the going, $25 regular GI Joe figures. I don't think the others, like Snow Job, well, the 2-pack, obviously, that's probably going to cost similar to like the Blue Ninja set, or maybe closer to like the Viper 3-pack, because the jetpacks, I don't know. But like Snow Job and was that the only regular figure I think they showed yesterday? But definitely the Trouble Bubble with the Televiper is probably going to cost whatever. I forget what the going price was on the Ram cycle, but probably going to be around that. Mr. Online says, love the G.I. Joe renders. Still want Joe green shirt figures with the regular laser rifle. I assume you mean like the standard gun all the Joes used in the cartoon. But yeah, green shirt. I wouldn't mind seeing a green shirt. But I'm glad we're getting. I mean, I'm gonna get the Steel Brigade guys. Not my favorite design, but I'm gonna get that 2-pack, at least one 2-pack, just to get the jetpacks. Todd says, would love a new flag for my HasLab Skyscraper. The vintage ones are fragile and hard to move. Well, a new flag would probably not be as fragile, but it would probably be just as hard to move, if not harder. What's up, Isaac? Yeah, you're a little late, but that's all right. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing one of the figures come with the stand. Like all the Joes had the exact same gun in the cartoon. Just like all the Cobras had the same guns too, for the most part. Like the Crimson Guard did have their signature rifles with the bayonets, I think. But most of the Cobras all had that one type of gun. And of course they all shot lasers. Even though they look like machine guns, they all shot lasers. Ingram says, why could Hasbro have given us 2 heads for Lady J and Zorana like they did for Snow Job? Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if Snow Job will end up being like a deluxe figure. Because, I mean, he's got a lot of accessories. He's got the snowshoes, he's got the skis, he does have 2 head sculpts. He's got the sniper rifle, he's got a pistol, he's got the goggles. So, yeah, this probably will end up being like a deluxe figure. So, that's probably why they were able to do the 2 heads. I mean, this is a great looking figure. Assuming, again, this is a digital render, so we'll make an assumption that the final figure is going to come out looking fairly much like that. And then, yeah, like to me, it's all about these jetpacks. I mean, you get some cool weapons and stuff, but for me, I'm wanting these jetpacks. The Televiper's got what, 3 head sculpts? I'm not sure what this 3rd head sculpt is supposed to be. They should have made like one of the head sculpts have like some words come across the visor, like you'd always see in the cartoon. But as cool as the Televiper is, I'm wanting the Trouble Bubble. I probably will only get one, but I might be tempted to get two. I guess we'll see what it costs. So yeah. Can you explain how Steel Brigade and Action Force IP was acquired by Bobby Vala and not created by Bobby Vala? Well, he bought, most of these licenses go up for sale, so I assume he bought the license for Action Force. Um, I I hadn't thought about Steel Brigade, but I guess that's why these are just called Steel Corps now, and don't use the Steel Brigade name in them. That's what these the guys in the 2-pack here were part of the Steel Brigade, but and honestly all that like Action Force and GI Joe, I know Action Force was essentially the name for GI Joe overseas, but I don't know how that translates necessarily into its own thing. So that's that's a better question for Bobby Alla to answer, because that's always been a little confusing to me. 3M not crazy about the Televiper though. You don't like that Televiper? I think it looks pretty good. You don't like the Televiper, or you don't like the fact you have to get the trouble bubble with the Televiper? Well, when I say license, I mean, and honestly, I guess I've no, I haven't paid that close attention, but like say Super Seven. So Super Seven bought Silverhawks. Okay, so that was a license that was out there, and I don't know who had it. I don't know who actually owned it before, but Brian Flynn and Super Seven actually purchased Silverhawks. So they owns everything related to Silverhawks now. So if another company like say Raymond Toys, which is an overseas company also making Silverhawks, they had to go to Super 7 and pay them some type of licensing fee in order to make those figures. So I am, and again, I haven't followed that closely with the Action Force stuff, but I'm assuming, Bobby did the same thing where he bought the license for, so he owns it. He's not like, GI Joe, Hasbro owns GI Joe, whereas they pay somebody else to make Star Wars figures and Marvel Legend figures. So so I'm assuming Bobby owns Action Force, but how he went about, who he bought it, I don't know, and why Action Force. I mean, the question with that is why, what, because, I mean, again, from my understanding, the original Action Force was essentially just what they called G.I. Joe overseas, because they didn't want it to have such, I guess, a patriotic United States centric name to it. So they created Action Force. But how it became its own separate thing from G.I. Joe, I don't really know. 3M says, just not feeling the Televiper. Scrap iron is cool though. Thoughts on those? Are all, I'm pretty sure, knockoffs, so I don't really pay close attention to knockoff toys, so I don't have a lot of thoughts on that. Thousand Wolves says, I need three trouble bubbles. I guess Action Force was its own trademark, and whoever didn't renew it or something, or sold it off or whatever. I guess I have not paid that close attention. So I guess Hasbro, and I won't even sit here and say 100% that Hasbro originally owned the Action Force trademark. So I don't know if they did or not, but all I know is that when I used to think of Action Force, I just thought of it as the overseas G.I. Joe. Prophet says, I think Snow Job is the deluxe pack. Yeah, I think it probably is going to be, looking at all the accessories that Snow Job has, it's probably going to be a deluxe figure. Isaac, I do not. I'm guessing probably it's going to go up for pre-order maybe later this month. I mean, right now McFarlane is showing off preview images every day, so we've seen 3 of the 5 figures in the wave. And so I wouldn't be surprised if it goes up for pre-order shortly after they're done showing off the preview images, but I don't have a specific date on those. Lord Vanger, I don't know, man. Super 7 has not shown those. They teased that like what, 3 weeks ago now, and there's been nothing more on the Sesame Street stuff. So I'm still waiting to find out whether it's Ultimates reaction or what. But I told my wife about it, and she was like, let me know when they get revealed. So Curtis says Hasbro co-owned Action Force with Palatoys. So it sounds like what? Kind of like Transformers, where they kind of co-owned it with Takara. Scrap Iron, is Dan sure going to be a deluxe fig? Yeah, Scrap Iron. Well, I hope it's not 60 to 80, but he's definitely going to be a deluxe figure. I'm thinking 40 to 50, 50 tops on Scrap Iron. I'm thinking. 3M says just going to get the Batman and Two Face figures from the movies. I'm waiting to see better images of those figures. I mean, like the Batman, because there was that factory sample that leaked out last month, and that didn't look too good. But granted, that was a factory sample, so it's possible the final figure will look better. And the preview image they put out the other day looked good, but it's from the side, and there's a lot of Photoshop and lighting and stuff in there. So I'm gonna wait until we get like all the official images to see how that one looks. Prophet says scrap iron will be Snake Eyes and Timber Cost. Like Serpentor and his chariot, I would put as a similar product to scrap iron, but the difference between Serpentor and the chariot and scrap iron is I'm pretty sure scrap iron is going to be a mainline release, whereas Serpentor was an exclusive, so that probably raised the price a little bit. But yeah, I would kind of agree with you on being priced around the same as Snake Eyes and Timber, somewhere in that area. Like I said, $50 is what I would say tops. I would be surprised if scrap iron was more than 50. The trouble bubble might be a little bit more, though I also could see the trouble bubble costing around $50 as well. So some Bull Nation, yeah, a Cobra Claw would be cool. But I mean, we got to be a little patient. They can't put out everything at the same time. The fact we're getting a trouble bubble this year, I think is pretty cool. And then, I'm guessing we're going to get something cool for this year's HasLab. So I don't know if it's going to be a dragonfly or what, but my wallet and such can't afford like 50 vehicles all coming out at the same time. usually like when they tease something, Super 7, they usually show it like in the next week, but releasing is a different matter. But usually when they tease something, they usually reveal it within the next week. But I've heard a lot of people have told me that the Sesame Street license is very difficult to work with. So it's possible they ran into some problem, getting approval to show stuff yet. So that might have delayed it. I don't know. Bean says, yeah, 50, definitely, I think, good chance trouble, but yeah, and I could even see the trouble bubble maybe costing 60, but definitely 50, around the $50 neighborhood would be my guess. Power Turtles is selling his Joes. But I think Joes are the best line out. I haven't had any problem with loose joints on my Hasbro G.I. Joe, except for Lady J. Lady J won't stand worth a crap because her legs always slide apart, but that's the only one I've had any issues with, really. And the only Super 7 figures I've ever owned are the Thundercats, and I mean, I haven't had any huge issues with those, but Blade, no. Disney owns Muppets, but not Sesame Street. They don't follow under the same license. They got split up um back in the day. So no, Sesame Street is not owned by Disney. I think Warner Brothers or HBO, Sesame Street's on HBO now, and I think Warner Brothers owns Sesame Street, but I could be wrong on that. Curtis says Hasbro team has been very wise in their pacing. I expect yeah. Usually the HasLabs come around summertime, so I would agree with you. Blake, did they come backwards? Uh, I know, like on a lot of them, their turn, like their turn. I haven't opened the Cobra Commander, but like see how the lower arm is kind of looking like the wrong direction, but I'm pretty sure that turns, and I think the hands might turn. So I think you can straighten that out. But the arms are all kind of like mispositioned inside the card backs. But I haven't opened any of these figures, so I can't say for sure. If I open Cobra Commander, I'll let you know. Isaac says the Black Series Jesse. Yeah, it doesn't look bad, but I gotta be honest, I'm cloned out. I've got so many different clone figures that I just clones don't excite me very much. So I'll probably get that Rebel Commando Trooper or Endor Trooper that they showed off, but that was probably the only one. Maybe, Kai Mundi, I might get that one, but I can't say, Star Wars just, I don't know, has not been holding my interest that much these days. What's up, Quinn? Welcome to the party. Mr. Cheeseburger, what is my HasLab wish list for G.I. Joe and Marvel Legends? Well, the rumored Dragonfly, I think would actually be pretty cool. I feel like, I mean, I always do lean towards more Cobra stuff, but I feel like since they gave us a Cobra vehicle last year, that if they're going to do another classified vehicle, it's going to be something G.I. Joe related. So, the Dragonfly I think would actually be a pretty good choice. So I wouldn't mind seeing that. Hasbro Marvel Legends, I don't know. I don't know what they could do. I mean, vehicles, I've said this before myself, the vehicles don't hold a lot of interest. Marvel vehicles don't hold a lot of interest for me. So I would rather see them do additional big figures, but I wouldn't mind seeing a Celestial, but I'm not sure a Celestial would have enough appeal to get funded. So I don't know. On the Marvel. Curtis. Well, that was a vintage collection figure, and honestly, I have not been buying. I still buy Black Series here and there, but I have not really. I've kind of steered away from the vintage collection. I have the Black Series Admiral Piet, but no, I don't think I'm gonna get any of those vintage collection figures. T-Glue, do I like the retro figures? Not, I'm not a big fan. I've got the Star Wars and I've got the Empire Strikes Back ones. And but then when they started doing these other, like, those were kind of tributes to the original Kenner line, and so I got those. But then when they started doing like these Disney Plus series ones and stuff, I was like, yeah, that, no thanks. So they're not my favorite. Being said, I wouldn't mind seeing Muppet Ultimate figures, and if my choice between Sesame Street is Reaction or Ultimates, I would definitely rather see Ultimate figures. I feel like they're probably going to be Reaction figures, but I'd rather see Ultimate figures. Lord Venger says he's all for Piet and that Starkiller. Isn't the Starkiller like a reissue or something? I lose track. I mean, they look good for vintage collection figures. All of those actually look good. Even that new Darth Vader, even though I'm so sick of Darth Vader, I mean, that new Darth Vader looked good, but it's like, oh my God, I've got like 53 and 3/4 inch Darth Vader figures already. Neil says, what's my most anticipated? Well, I don't know everything coming out in 2023 yet, so that's hard to say. G.I. Joe Classified right now is continuing to hold my interest the most. I've got the Marvel Legends blob figure, deluxe blob figure that should actually be here tomorrow from Big Bad Toy Store. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to that because I don't have the original Build-A-Figure one, or at least I don't have all the pieces of the original Build-A-Figure one. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. But right now, GI Joe Classified is definitely the line for me. Though, we're seeing a lot of cool stuff coming from Masters of the Universe. So like names and stuff. So we haven't seen images, but that stuff has kind of been holding my interest as well. So I feel like right now, to me, the best two action figure lines going are GI Joe Classified for Hasbro and Masters of the Universe Masterverse for Mattel. Even though I also like the Origins line, but picking between Origins and Masterverse, I like Masterverse. So speaking of which, I just got this yesterday, so I'm not gonna do a regular review of this, but I felt like I'd give you guys a quick look. And he's actually a really cool figure, the Frogmonger. So the Castle Grayskull Dweller. So let me So this is based on you know, this little he appeared on this sticker with Castle Grayskull, so it's kind of cool they turned him into a figure. And, you know, frogs are kind of the in thing these days, so he's got this gun, and I think this is supposed to be a jetpack that has a little laser on the top of it, I think. So he's got that, which you can take off if you want. Just pop the head off. But I think he came out pretty cool. Here he is with He-Man. Sorceress. All these figures scale about the same height. And then he's also got his own little mini comic. So looks like I wasn't sure if he was going to be a good guy or a bad guy, even though he hangs out in Castle Grayskull, but he does hang out in the dungeon. So I wasn't sure if he was going to be a good guy or a bad guy, but it looks like he ends up helping out He-Man here in the comic. So He-Man's riding on the back there. I haven't read this yet, but so I hope. It always sucks when those Mattel creation figures sell out real quick. So I hope they make it available again, because I think he's a pretty cool figure. Blade Runner, yeah, Ultimate Kermit. I have the old, my wife has it now, but the old Palisade Toys Kermit the Frog figure. I don't know if any of you guys remember those, but I have that. We need more figures for Revelation series. Well, I mean, they keep sprinkling them in. We got Sorceress coming. We've got Classic Merman. We've got, let's see, who else is coming from the TV series that we know of? Clamp Champ is apparently coming, but it's not clear whether he's going to be from the cartoon or like a New Eternia version. I'm kind of thinking he might be from the cartoon, so we might be getting a Revelations Clamp Champ. Lord Wenger says, I wish to make an Origins Lizard Man from the early Masters of the Universe cartoon. Yeah, that would be cool. Blade Runner says, nobody needs Revelation. I like Revelations, man. Oh yeah, the new, well, we just got the Sorceress Evelyn, and then yeah, the muscle bound Evelyn. Trying to think what else. I think Manny Faces is the one I'm looking forward to the most that we've seen. And that's not Revelations, but New Eternia. But the Manny Faces figure I think looks really cool. We're getting Ram Man. I think that's going to be a New Eternia since I guess he did show up in the Revelation cartoon. So I don't know if the Ram Man is going to be Revelation or New Eternia, but Neil says, I wouldn't put a lot of faith in that per se. I mean, yes, Mattel could have that planned out, but as far as Scott Nylick telling us that Masters of the Universe is ending next month, I think that's completely bogus because I mean you can just see there's plenty of product coming out through the end of this year. But I really wouldn't make any predictions beyond this year. So definitely I mean if you think about it, we've got and I've said this many times, as long as there are these entertainment properties pushing these toys, we will probably continue to see the toys made. So, we've got the new season of Revelation coming sometime this year. They haven't announced it yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if we at least get one more season of the CGI series, and then there's the movie. So, uh, there's some rumors flying around that Anthony Mackie from Marvel, Falcon it's been cast as Skeletor for that movie. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but but definitely, like I said, Scott said next month was the last month we were going to see Masters of the Universe product, and that's just bogus because you can clearly, I mean, Snake Mountain's going to be coming out this summer, the Origin Snake Mountain playset. There's a Point Dread coming for the Origins line. We've seen multiple waves. Those aren't all going to come out next month, so there's definitely product coming out through the end of this year. So right there, it's pretty clear that Scott is wrong. Now, Scott may change his timeline. He might say, "Oh, I meant the end of the year. We'll see product through the end of the year." But if he keeps telling us, each year that it's ending, he might eventually get it right because nothing's going to last forever. But I feel pretty confident that right now, Masters of the Universe is chugging along pretty good, and I don't think Mattel is ending it in the foreseeable future. 3M. So I got that one. That's a pretty good figure. The new Eternia Stratus, and I'm not a fan of Stratus. Is probably one of my least favorite characters. So but it's got a nice classic feel to it. But I like the addition of the oxygen mask and stuff. So I like that one. Too Bad's a great figure, though. Honestly, I mean, I got to be honest with you. You might just wait until Target, all those deluxe figures that Targets make sure that they get first, and then they end up clearancing them out. You can get Hordak and She-Ra right now for $10 at Target, so you might just wait for the Too Bad to go on sale at Target. But it is a nice figure, definitely. Hisman says only buy Masters of the Universe. I don't know. I did not collect Masters of the Universe as a kid. I watched the cartoon, but I never collected the toys as a kid. But I really have enjoyed the modern line. So I didn't get that much into classics because I didn't feel like dealing with Matty Collector. It was too big of a pain in the ass. I wasn't going to subscribe and all that bullshit. But so I've got a few classics, classics was a nice line. Don't get me wrong. I just again was not worth the hassle to like collect all those figures. But I've really enjoyed Masterverse and Origins, and I definitely hope they continue beyond this year. Neil says, "Well, you got to look Mattel Masters of the Universe is to Mattel what G.I.Joe is to Hasbro. It's like their flagship boys action figure line. So they're going, Masters of the Universe is never going to go away fully. It might transform into something else. Masterverse will probably end at some point, but eventually, Mattel will come out with something else. It's their flagship boys action figure line. So you can pretty much guarantee that, and of course Scott tells us that Mattel actually sold Masters of the Universe to some secret party that no one's ever heard about, but I don't really believe that either. So, I think you'll continue to see Masters of the Universe, and you're right. It's probably not, I doubt Masters of the Universe sells as well as, say, like Barbie or Hot Wheels does for Mattel, but it's their flagship brand, and they're always going to try and do something with it. And that's where I go back to the entertainment properties. That's the key. As long as we're getting cartoons or movies or what have you, it's almost a guarantee they will continue to push out product for that stuff. So it's when all, if all the cartoons get canceled and the movie doesn't materialize, then you might start to panic a little bit that, Masters of the Universe might disappear from retail shelves. But as long as that stuff continues to come out, then it's a pretty good bet that we will see property, Mattel push property for it. No, because Hasbro doesn't own Marvel Legends. Disney owns, the license to Marvel Legends. Disney owns Marvel. So I'm sure it's one of their best-selling action figure lines, but they don't own it. They own Transformers and they own G.I. Joe. Now Transformers is probably as big, Transformers is bigger than G.I. Joe, but they also don't own it solely. They split ownership of Transformers with Takara, whereas G.I. Joe, they own it all. So, and G.I. Joe was kind of, I think, the back in the day, you know, the 60s and then again in the 80s was kind of what put Hasbro on the map for action figures. So, it is definitely, you know, their one of their main brands for boys action figures. But unfortunately, G.I. Joe has not always been a strong seller. So that's why G.I. Joe, you'll see G.I. Joe sometimes go on hiatus, or it's hard to get out on retail shelves. And of course, the G.I. Joe stuff in the movies and stuff all the G.I. Joe movies, did not do that great. And the last one did the worst. So, but, G.I. Joe is one of those things where, I don't think G.I. Joe will ever fully go away. It might have its ups and downs, and I think we're in an up right now, definitely, but it's not going to ever fully go away. John says, yes, this year comes the new Rise of the Beast movie. Yep. Not sure how well the movie's going to do, but it is coming out this year. Henry, really? So yeah, I mentioned it earlier in the live stream, but I got an email from Big Bad Toy Store today saying that my Thunder tank was going to soon be shipping. So sounds like Entertainment Earth is getting theirs in as well. So if you pre-ordered that bad boy, I'm thinking he's probably going to be coming to our houses either by the end of this month or early next month. It, I should say, not he. Sam says, I tried to buy a Transformer figure Tuesday, but some asshole ripped the barcode off the bottom of the package. You couldn't, I guess it was the only one they had or something? Tiglu says, they need a period piece G.I. Joe movie. Yeah, I don't know. See, I feel like G.I. Joe that would appeal to me is not G.I. Joe that would appeal to somebody younger. So I don't know. G.I. Joe is one of those, it's a pretty tough property to kind of like get everybody to like. So Lord Wenger says, it's a period piece. You mean an 80s Joe movie about the cartoon character? Well, like, that's my G.I. Joe, the 80s Joes from the cartoons and the comics, but that's the G.I. Joe I would like to see. But I feel like younger people that didn't grow up on that would probably rather see something more military oriented. See, that's the thing with like G.I. Joe is like, I feel like some people view G.I. Joe as like hardcore military line. I've never really looked at it quite like a military line. So I don't know. I mean, yes, they're in the military, obviously, but they're also, they don't follow strict military protocol. You would never see people in the military dressed like the Joes do, things like that. So, and it's also like, enlisted men, seem to outrank officers sometimes and things like that. So it's like, I feel like with the live action G.I. Joe movies, they tried to make it more like a special ops type movie. And I don't know, it just, to me, it didn't work very well. Mr. Cheeseburger. Hardcore rated R G.I. Joe movie. Make it like a Bond movie. Real stakes, real world warfare. That could be interesting. Like if you made Cobra like a serious terrorist organization, but then like, Cobra Commander loses, I don't know. If you turn Cobra Commander into like what we think of a real terrorist, I mean, Cobra Commander was kind of a bumbling buffoon, right, in the cartoon and stuff. So that, I don't think that would translate very well in a live action movie, but at the same time, it loses some of its character, I guess, if you made him like a serious hardcore terrorist. Bean says a good Joe movie needs to be part military, special ops, part James Bond, part Indiana Jones. They were always after artifacts of some kind. Yeah, they were. Well, it wasn't necessarily artifacts. It was always like a weapon. Like Cobra would get the weapon, and then the weapon would always somehow split up into parts, and then they had to go around the world and retrieve the parts, and it was like a race to who could get it back together first. Brick says hardcore military action. At what point is it no longer GI Joe though? Why not make something new at that point? Yeah, I don't. I feel like if they were gonna try and gear it more towards like 80s GI Joe, it would probably be better if they looked at the comics. The comics definitely were more serious. I think had a more serious tone than the cartoon did. So I feel like the comics would be better material to use for a movie than like anything from the cartoon. The cartoon or the comics still had the feel of GI Joe, but it was definitely in a more serious tone in general than the cartoon. Omega Maxima. Yeah, James Gunn, I think said that he thought the Flash movie was great, but you got to keep in mind that no matter what, at this point, the Flash movie, the Aquaman 2, and what's the other one coming? Blue Beetle was the other one, but now it's slipping my mind. But those are already made. They're already coming. And so if you sat there and said, "Yeah, once these movies are out, we're dumping all of that," so it's pretty much completely meaningless, which is what they kind of started to do when it was first announced James Gunn was taking over and stuff. But nobody would go see the movies if they didn't think there was some type of relevance to them. So I feel like right now they're just telling us, "Oh yeah, this is the most fantastic thing in the world. Yeah, it's gonna we're not getting rid of these guys. Oh, Shazam, that was the other one, Shazam. So we're not getting rid of those guys, things like that. But I really don't think any of the movies that have already been made and coming out are going to play any significant role other than Peacemaker, which of course was James Gunn's thing anyway. I really don't think they're going to play a major role, but I just don't think they want to come out and say, yeah, this is pretty much irrelevant at this point, but we still want you to go watch it. So I feel like that's what's going on. They're trying to do this balancing act where they want you to go see these movies because they want them to be successful at the box office, but I don't think they're going to really play. I really would be surprised if we see Ezra Miller in another movie beyond the Flash movie. I would be maybe if the Flash did was like hugely successful at the box office, like it break, then maybe I could see that. But if the Flash only does mediocre, kind of like Black Adam at the box office, Ezra Miller's gone. I don't see him coming back. And same thing with Shazam, same thing with Aquaman. Now we might see Jason Momoa come back as another DC character. There's been some suggestions of that, maybe Lobo or something. But and I don't think Aquaman's going to do great at the box office. I don't think Shazam is going to do that great at the box office. The Flash might, just because of Michael Keaton it marks the return of Michael Keaton as Batman. So I feel like everyone's going to go see The Flash just for that. I know that's the main reason why I'm going to go see it. So The Flash is the only one that, as far as how it does at the box office, but I feel like the others are going to be, kind of on par with Black Adam. So and I probably, for most of them, except for maybe The Flash, I'm probably just going to wait until they come out on HBO Max and watch them there. But I don't think, again, I would be, unless the Flash movie just does buku well at the box office, I don't think we're going to see Ezra Miller come back as the Flash. Now, supposedly he's started to, get psychiatric help and stuff to help him work out his issues. So, maybe the guy will get his act together. I don't know, but I don't feel like there's much chance we're going to see him in the future. But they're not going to come out and say these movies have no bearing on anything we're doing in the future, so there's really no reason to go see them now. That's why I don't think they're basically saying that. But we'll see. Omega Maximus. Why is the MCU taking so long? Well, all this stuff is mapped out years in advance. I mean, they map these phases out like 5-10 years out. So X-Men, when they were mapping out these current phases, they didn't even know they were going to have access to the X-Men and Fantastic Four and stuff. So that's why, they just haven't jumped right in. They're having to kind of like go back and restructure what they had created. And that's why it's taking so long. But, you got to realize that, these things, so that they all fit together, have to be mapped out well in advance, these stories and everything. So, and, they didn't know that they were going to get X-Men, and when they were mapping out these current phases that we've been seeing on the big screen, when they were first making those stories, they didn't know they were going to have X-Men and Fantastic Four back. Being said, well, yeah, I mean, they're not, unless Ezra Miller went out and killed somebody, they're not going to scrap the Flash movie. They've spent way too much money on it, and it's finished, and so the Flash movie's coming out pretty much no matter what. But the question is whether they will continue to use Ezra Miller as the Flash beyond that. And my feeling is no, unless the movie just does so extremely well and the guy, gets his act together and doesn't get in any more legal trouble, then maybe they might consider keeping him. But I'm very skeptical that they actually will have plans to continue to use Ezra Miller beyond this Flash movie. Yep, we've seen both. I mean, the Batmobile just looks like the one from the original movies. At least the Spin Master toy did. the Batwing looks a little bit different from the original Michael Keaton movie, but so I wouldn't say it necessarily spoiled it, but it definitely has given us our first look at it. We should see like the official reveal for all the Flash movie product should come out next month. So yeah, that's when we'll probably see the McFarlane stuff and the Spin Master stuff will be officially revealed and stuff. So the embargo, I believe, on the Flash movie product is March. Johnson, I wonder how bad the Batgirl movie was that they had. I don't know. I've seen them recently come out and say that it was like really, really bad, but I don't know. I don't know if they're just trying to make it sound really bad because so many people are upset that it got canceled, but I don't know. One thing I don't like, one thing I don't like that I've seen James Gunn been doing is that he's like basically trying to blame everybody, anything bad that has happened. He's trying to blame other people on it, and I like the Henry Cavill thing. I don't doubt that the previous powers that be, you know, move forward on something that they shouldn't have and all that. But I feel like if James Gunn really wanted Henry Cavill to be Superman, he could make that happen. So saying like, oh well, it's the other guys before me that basically screwed him over, I'm not sure I really buy that. I understand why he wants to start fresh and stuff, but I feel like, him going out there and making these comments, essentially trying to throw everybody under the bus but himself for anything that people don't like. I feel like he just needs to kind of shut up and I don't care what he says or what he tells us until I see something on the screen and like know it's going to be good. This is all just kind of fluff hype to me. And frankly, my feeling is, they've got this 10-year plan that they're mapping out, right? But I feel like if the first, like the Superman movie, the new Superman movie they just announced, if that ends up having not like a super stellar box office take when it opens up, what's going to keep the Warner Brothers execs from scrapping it all once again and saying, oh, well, let's start over again because this didn't work. So, I mean, that's the problem with DC is anytime their movies don't perform like super great at the box office, they're ready to throw in the towel and start all over. So I'm like, I, you can map out a 10-year plan all you want, but the important thing is going to be, the movies are going to have to do well or Warner Brothers isn't going to move forward with your plan. So, they've kind of pulled the rug out from under us too many different times with these movies. I've heard some people say like, well, as long as each movie is good, I don't care. But to me, I'm like, that's not true because that's not how they make these movies. These movies are all made to be one piece of an overall story. And if you start to get invested in the story and then they just scrap it all, then that gets annoying. I'm not somebody who just thought the Snyderverse stuff was so fantastic. It definitely had its problems. But I started to get invested in those stories, especially like after they gave us the Snyder cut on HBO Max, which I actually thought was much better than the original theatrical take. And then they just like scrapped it all. And so I felt like they had enough to work with there that they could have taken that and built on that and taken it in a better direction than what it had been, but instead of just like scrapping and starting all over. But we'll see what they do. We'll see, what they come up with. We'll see how the new Batman is. We'll see how the new Superman is. And maybe they'll be good. I don't know at this point. But I'm not going to get excited until I see, something actually come out and then see if it does well so that the Warner Brother execs are going to actually stick with this 10-year plan or whatever that James Gunn has been saying is coming out. Because like I said, right now it's like fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. And it like, I'm like, so I'll believe it when I see it. Ram says he's glad they canceled the Batgirl movie. I mean, I'm not losing sleep that they canceled it. It's more of a curiosity thing because again, it was gonna have Michael Keaton in it and stuff, so it was more of kind of curious to see what it was. But I'm certainly not like losing sleep that they canceled it. So I'm to me, maybe it was a good thing they canceled it since obviously they whatever was in that movie they weren't moving forward with. So it's kind of like with the Snyderverse Justice League. I definitely thought it was interesting to watch, but the fact that there was no plans to move forward with that, part of me is kind of like pissed that I ended up watching that and now there's, nothing more with it. So, it is probably better that they just canceled the Batgirl movie. Surprising since they had basically finished the movie, spent all the money to make the movie, and then decided not to release it. But I bet you one day that movie will end up getting released somehow. I feel like they didn't cancel the Blue Beetle movie because they got so much flack for canceling the Batgirl movie that they felt like they needed to go on and do the Blue Beetle movie. Maybe not, I don't know, but that's kind of was my impression was like if they had canceled the Blue Beetle movie, it just would have gotten way out of control. The negative backlash for that would be more than they wanted to deal with. And maybe the Blue Beetle movie just was better. I don't know. Kyle says he hopes Spider-Man fights a giant spider in Legacy. Okay. I don't think I've ever seen Spider-Man fight a giant spider, but or Superman. Yeah, Blake, it'll be like the 1990 or the 1990 Captain America movie. I'm not sure. I don't think I ever saw the Fantastic Four one, but I used to have the Captain America one on VHS tape. Yeah, I know that's what they told us about the write off, but I'm not really sure I buy that. But who knows? T-Glue says, "Don't screw up Lex Luthor this time." I'm actually more pissed that they canceled Titans than anything. I actually like the Titans series and waiting for them to finish out the current season, but Cass says, "Go watch Kevin Smith writing the Burton Superman movie." Was that the one with Nicolas Cage? Aliens. I thought Aliens was going to TV. I thought they were doing an Aliens TV series next. I hadn't heard about another Aliens movie. That's a franchise that I feel like they've run into the ground. It's kind of like Terminator and Predator. Billy Zane for Lex Luthor. Isaac says, I won't say it wasn't like the best thing in the world, but I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I enjoyed watching it. Vega says, Sony needs to stop making shitty spy. I've not yet watched Morbius, and it's like available, I think, on Netflix or something. But I've not yet watched Morbius. I probably should at some point since I don't have to pay for it. But that movie got panned so bad, it's like I'm even afraid to go watch it, even if it's for free. Hansel, yeah, Batman Beyond with Michael Keaton playing Bruce Wayne. I mean, that would have been a, and I'm not, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe that was something they were heading towards, bringing Michael Keaton back, but who knows? Yes, McFarlane toys are 7-inch figures, Marvel Legends are 6-inch figures, so they do not scale with each other. Tiglu says spare us. Well, like, it was the same way with the G.I. Joe Snake Eyes movie, and I finally went and watched that. And it actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I mean, it wasn't a good G.I. Joe movie, but if it was just a random ninja movie, it wouldn't have been too bad. Jonathan, I didn't hate Prey, but I didn't think like some people were like, "Oh, this movie is so fantastic," and I just it was a little hard to buy for me. The girl taking on the alien and stuff. So I don't know. It wasn't horrible, but I didn't think it was fantastic either. But I mean, there's no beating the Arnold Schwarzenegger Predator movie. I mean, that was just an awesome movie. But the part of it was just the mystery of the Predator, and that's gone now. So I feel like there is really no. I mean, if they were gonna do another Predator movie, I wish they would bring Arnold Schwarzenegger back and kind of like finish up like bring it to a close and bring Arnold Schwarzenegger back and do something like that. But for the most part, I feel like they've just kind of driven that franchise into the grounds. Like I said, same thing with Terminator, same thing with Aliens. Like, the mystery, the surprise, all of that's gone. They just kind of end up rehashing the same thing over and over and over again. And I don't get excited for whenever they announce a new Predator or they announce a new Aliens or they announce a new Terminator movie. I'm just like, yeah, okay. The originals, classics, and will always be classics. The first Predator movie, even the second Predator movie, not as good as the first, but I still like the second Predator movie. Terminator 1, Terminator 2 are classics. Alien and Aliens, the second Alien movie, are classics, but everything beyond that is just, to me, it's just kind of like the Predators movie was okay, but again, not nearly as good as the original. Well, it would need to be more than a cameo. They probably would need to bring somebody in. Like I always thought it would have been cool if they had brought The Rock in, like to take on the Predator. The Rock versus a Predator. I think that would actually be a pretty interesting movie. And because Arnold is so old now, I don't feel like he could be the lead action hero role anymore. But he could definitely be the supporting character. Give background on the Predator, things like that. So I feel like he could be brought in and give that character some closure, and then bring in somebody like The Rock or somebody to like be the main action guy. But that's kind of that's the Predator movie I would like to see. The only thing about Aliens is I wish we had gotten a better, like, I always wanted to know more about that ship that was in the original Alien movie. And I thought with the Prometheus stuff that's what we were going to get, but I hated those Prometheus movies. So I feel like going back and giving us insight on that ship would be interesting. But uh, I'm not a huge Vin Diesel fan, so I'd take The Rock over Vin Diesel. I don't know. Ghostbusters is another one that I don't know. I feel like that. The last Ghostbusters was okay, but again, I wasn't like floored by it. So, and I didn't. I mean, honestly, I didn't think Ghostbusters 2 was a great movie. It was an okay movie. The original Ghostbusters was a great movie, but everything after that for Ghostbusters has not been that fantastic for me. Tiglu says add Chuck Norris and I'm in. Blade Runner dissing on Chuck Norris. Yeah, I don't think I'd put Chuck Norris in the same field as Kevin Sorbo. Kevin Sorbo is definitely a tool, but I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen Chuck Norris. Yeah, I wouldn't count on that, but who knows? Devon says Ghostbusters 2 had fun merchandising. Eddie, I no, I have not seen the Bloodshot movie. Was that any good? I can't remember if people liked that or I mean, I know it wasn't like a blockbuster hit, but I can't remember if people thought it was crappy or it's like Judge Dredd. I mean, I actually like the Sylvester Stallone Judge Dredd movie. The the Carl Urban one wasn't too bad either, but I actually kind of like the Sylvester Stallone Judge Dredd, which I'm probably in the minority on that. Isaac, I not not anytime recently, but yes, I have played the Force Unleashed video game a little bit. Not like I never finished it, but I did play it some. Lee said Bloodshot sucked. Omega, yes, I do remember the HBO Spawn. In fact, that to me is the best incarnation of Spawn. Is that HBO cartoon? Like the early Spawn comics, I didn't think were very good. I didn't think they were well written. And the movie was it was a B type movie, but that cartoon was awesome. So that HBO cartoon I think is the best thing of Spawn that we've ever gotten. Salome has joined us, everybody. Omega says the last. See, I don't know. There were parts about Last Jedi that I hated, like the casino city part. That I thought that was terrible. But I thought the characterization of Luke was actually kind of interesting. It was realistic because if you think about it, I think we've talked about this before, but Luke was a failed Jedi master, and he had all this pressure put on him. I mean, he basically he didn't really save the day in Return of the Jedi. Darth Vader did. It was out of the love that he had for Luke that he turned on the Emperor. But if it hadn't been for Vader turning on the Emperor, Luke would have been fried. So yeah, Luke was hailed this great hero for defeating the Emperor and stuff, but he really didn't do that, and he really wasn't a Jedi master. I mean, he had what a couple weeks of training, and that was it. So he had all this pressure of like trying to relaunch the whole Jedi Order, which he basically failed at. And so, he, like a lot of people would, he kind of shut himself off from the world and went into seclusion. I I thought that was actually kind of a very interesting take on the character. And I love the scene at the end of The Last Jedi where Luke faces down, Kylo Ren and stuff. I get goosebumps when I watch that scene. It sucked. I felt like he shouldn't have died at the end, but but I actually kind of liked how they did Luke. It wasn't like, what we probably would have all have expected, but I do feel like it was somewhat realistic. I other issues, like I hated the part where with Finn and his love interest. So I didn't like that. I didn't like running the speeder into, that all that crap. I thought it was the premise that the Star Destroyer couldn't catch up to the rebel ships, and like so the whole movie it was like we can only get this close. I thought that was kind of stupid. The Mary Poppins scene with Princess Leia I thought was stupid, but but uh but the Luke parts actually I thought was interesting, and I liked the fact that like Ray was, they changed it in the third movie, but I kind of like the idea that Ray wasn't like didn't come from like Emperor Palpatine's blood or Obi-Wan or any of these other well-known Jedi. So I liked that. I thought it was kind of a fresh take. I felt like, the first, The Force Awakens was just a copy of Star Wars, and then The Last Jedi was just kind of a cop out. Or The Rise of Skywalker. I mean, the third one I thought was kind of a cop out. So, but I think at the end of the day, those Star Wars movies, the thing that those that did not give us was we all wanted to see Han, Luke, and Leia get back together and kick some ass, and that was the biggest mistake with those movies is we never got that. So we got each character kind of individually, and that was disappointing. It's kind of like Star Trek. I mean, if you look at the Generations movie with, they had Captain Kirk and Picard in it, that was a very disappointing movie. What we all wanted to see back then is we wanted to see the original crew and the Next Generation crew come together and save the universe. And, if they were going to kill off Kirk, we wanted them to be on the bridge of the Enterprise, not on some dumb planet. So, I feel like they totally screwed that up. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed that season 3 of Picard is going to be good with the Next Generation. But since I didn't like season 1 and 2, I'm worried that I'm not going to like it. But I'm hoping that they do a good job with season 3 of Picard. I don't know if any of you guys are Star Trek fans, but yeah, I have my fingers crossed. And from the trailers, there's nothing that I don't like, but they really haven't given us a good idea of the story. So, and again, because I was not impressed with season 1 and 2 of Picard, I still am very worried of whether the story is going to be good or not. Omega Maximus. Why the Transformers movie failed at the box office? Because a couple of reasons. So, first of all, they killed Optimus Prime, and apparently that scarred a lot of kids. I guess I was old enough that it didn't really. I mean, I teared up when they killed him, but it didn't like scar me. But according to folks involved with the movie and everything, there were kids who were like scarred for life, I guess, because they killed Optimus Prime. So that's part of it, I think. And then back then, I mean, back then Transformers was considered just for kids, so only kids were going to go see that movie. and only like probably boys, and only, boys of a certain age. And so it was a very limited demographic that was going to see that movie. If that movie was released today, all kinds of adults would go see it and everything, and it would probably be much more successful. But back then, that wasn't the case. So, you know, the combination that they killed Optimus Prime, which I guess scarred little kids, and then, Transformers wasn't something, viewed as something adults would go see at that point, is why that movie didn't do well at the box office. And then G.I. Joe didn't even get a box office release. It didn't get released at the movie theaters. It ended up going straight to VHS. John, I've watched the first episode of Last of Us, and I'm gonna wait until the whole thing airs, and then I'm just gonna watch it all together instead of watching it week to week. I thought it was okay. I'm not a huge zombie movie fan, but I thought it was okay. It seemed like the first half of episode 1 was like your typical zombie type movie, and I was like, but then they kind of switched things up and stuff. Now, I've never played the video game that it's based on. I know nothing about the video game, so I'm coming into this as like knowing nothing about it. And so, like I said, it was good, but I'm gonna wait till the whole thing airs and then watch the whole season together. Phil Morris says he was 19. Are you talking about Transformers? Transformers came out in '86, so I was like 13 or 14 when the movie came out. I mean, I remember seeing it, and I remember seeing Transformers the movie the first time in the movie theater, and like to me, the thing, like when Spike said the word shit, and I was like, oh my god, Spike said shit. So that and like I said, I teared up when Optimus died, but it certainly didn't scar me. Though I will say I was not a fan of Rodimus Prime, and I thought he was a punk for grabbing the mate. Like I feel like if the only reason he became the leader is because he touched the Matrix before Ultra Magnus did. I feel like if Ultra Magnus had just taken the Matrix out of Prime's hand and been the first one to touch it, he would have been the chosen one and he would have become the leader. But happy. I have not watched Willow. In fact, to be absolute, I've never watched the Willow movie. So I've I've thought about maybe going back and watching the movie and then maybe checking out the show, but I have not seen either the movie or the show, so I don't know if it's good or not. A lot of people didn't like the fact that Superman killed Zod because you know, people were like, Superman doesn't kill like that. I think that's the thing that set the whole Snyderverse on a path of failure. I think because people hated how they portrayed Superman as like this guy who kills people and stuff. So yeah, I mean, hands down, Ultra Magnus would have been a much better leader for the Autobots. I mean, there's just now I am like Ultra Magnus was like already this full size big robot, so I'm not sure like what would Ultra Magnus's powered up version with the Matrix look like. Is- but definitely, I feel like Ultra Magnus was a better leader. Oh yeah, that I teared up for that as well. That Spider-Man scene in Avengers Infinity War. Yeah, definitely. When all those heroes started to disappear, I mean, you knew they were coming back, so there wasn't like this, oh, those guys are dead for good, but I did tear up for that. In the real world, Superman would be like the boys. He'd at least kill a lot of folks by accident. Well, I mean, again, if you go back to the Man of Steel movie, I mean, look at all that destruction that ended up happening while Zod and Superman fought in the middle of the city. And yeah, people died during that. And that definitely is a more realistic take on things. But, you know, I don't think sometimes, you can be too real. And I feel like, we want to think that Superman's going to save everybody. You know, we want to, we want to see the fight like in Superman 2, the original Christopher Reeve Superman 2, where, they have the fight and some debris falls on the road, but nobody gets killed, right? 3M says Spider Man being snapped didn't bother me because I hate Tom Holland. Lord, well, yeah, he flew off. They basically they all ended up getting killed, but not directly. Like, Superman didn't like break his neck. Zod basically, flew off or tried to fly, and he ended up going off the side of the chasm there in the headquarters. So not quite the same. Yeah, they got killed, but not quite in the same way. Phil said when the first, yeah, heck yeah, or when Spock died in Star Trek 2, I still tear up a little bit, even though I know he's gonna come back to life. I still tear up a little bit sometimes when I watch that death scene with Spock and then the funeral procession afterwards. Omega Maximus, Spider-Man: No Way Home, which I thought was probably the best movie from Phase 4. Shang-Chi was okay, wasn't fantastic, but I didn't hate it. Wakanda Forever, same thing. I didn't hate it, but I didn't think it was fantastic. I mean, none of the Phase 4 movies have gotten me invested in, like the previous phases had, leading up to, Endgame. But at the same time, I mean, Captain America's my favorite character, so, you know, and I'm more invested in characters like Iron Man and Thor and stuff. So a lot of these guys were always B-list characters to me at best, and so that they're like taking the forefront now is not as interesting to me. But I am having hope that maybe the Ant-Man with Kang will be interesting, and we'll kind of get back on track. Onto yeah, taking a little bit of gap, but honestly, it doesn't bother me. I've not been at like there has not been one Marvel Disney Plus show that I've thought was fantastic. Some are better than others, some are horrible, but most of those Disney Plus shows, because they don't really do much, you know, it's like they're afraid to really kind of do anything in the TV shows because they want to hold it for the movie. So I don't know. I guess other than maybe the What If series, but I liked Moon Knight as a character, but I did not think the Moon Knight series was that great. I didn't think that story was that great. So I definitely want to see more of Moon Knight, but I don't know. So I've not been overly impressed with any of the Disney Plus Marvel shows as of yet. Hopefully Daredevil will be good, but we'll have to wait and see. Again, Falcon and Winter Soldier, it was okay, but I didn't think it was great. I mean, obviously, because I love US Agent, that was my favorite part of it. But I didn't think the show itself really did a whole lot. So, and I didn't like, the bad guy in that, I didn't think was that great. So, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to Thunderbolts, and I'm hoping Thunderbolts is good. But I feel like all these shows are just kind of done to maybe like introduce a character or something. But again, like I said, they don't really want to do anything major in them because they want to save that for the movies. Yeah, Werewolf by Night was good. I mean, it's kind of a standoffish thing, but yeah, that was good. That is probably the best Disney Plus Marvel show that we've gotten so far. Of course, it was just one episode, but oh, you're right, Lord Mig. It was. You're right, but still, it wasn't quite the same as him breaking his neck. But you're right. I guess he did technically kill Zod in Superman 2 as well. I'm looking forward to Deadpool and seeing Hugh Jackman come back as Wolverine. I would love to see. I know he's getting older, but I would love to see Hugh Jackman in an actual Wolverine outfit, like team up with the Avengers before he retires, fully retires. I don't know if they'll do that, but I would definitely like to see that. Yeah, Blade need. I agree. Blade needs to probably be rated R. What is I guess I've missed that rumor. What Thunderbolt member have they lost? All right. Salome is now sitting in front of the screen, so I can't see your guys' camera. Thank you. Well, Venom's a Sony movie, so I mean, Venom was the first Venom was okay, but it wasn't great. None of those Venom movies have been good. No Ghost. Why? What happened to her? Well, Harrison Ford's definitely replacing Ross. Now, whether he ends up becoming the Red Hulk or not, that remains to be seen. But Harrison Ford being cast as the new General Ross is not a rumor. That is 100% confirmed. And we'll see Harrison Ford in the Captain America movie before we see him in Thunderbolts. Omega. I didn't like. I mean, the only transform Michael Bay Transformer movie I liked was the first one. I thought all the other ones were crap after that. It's kind of like the Chris Pine Star Trek movies. The first one I thought was pretty good, but the ones after that I thought were terrible. Harrison Ford's like showing up in everything. He's like in like three different TV shows now, or at least two. He's got the Indiana Jones movie coming. He's going to be in the MCU now. Uh Collecting Rush. No, no update. Hasbro didn't say anything about those in this week's live stream. You know, there's supposedly some rumored lists out there suggesting they'll come eventually, but I don't know when. We did get another Insecticon finally, but no more, no additional Studio Series Dinobots have been announced. Later says he has to keep Flockhart. Are they still together? Hey, no man, no problem, man. Happy to do it. Is Ford coming back for the Blade Runner thing too? I hadn't heard that. But he's got that he's in that Harrison Ford's currently in that Yellowstone spinoff, which has been good so far. I don't know if any of you guys watch Yellowstone, but I actually think that's a pretty good show. Um, but then he's also doing some Apple series comedy thing as well, so he's got that coming. John said, "Okay, I lose track on who's married to who these days in Hollywood. It changes so often that I don't even bother to keep." Omega, the Dark Phoenix. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but I feel like they wouldn't do something like that for a Disney Plus series. It will be curious when it comes to the X-Men in the MCU. Like, obviously, we're getting Deadpool is going to be the first mutant-oriented X-Men type movie, but it's not really clear, since Deadpool breaks the fourth wall and all that stuff. It's not really clear how they're going to handle that. And so I don't know if Deadpool's actually going to lead into like an X-Men, the X-Men's introduction to the MCU, or if it's just going to be kind of a one-off thing. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But it'll be curious whether they introduce the X-Men somewhere else and then go into their own movies, or whether they just kind of start out with X-Men in their own movies. Like, I've been hearing rumors, and I'm gonna say definitely rumors at this point about, like, you know the Avengers Secret Wars is going to be with the Beyonder, and then there's going to be the Battle World and stuff. So if they were going to do something like that, I would think they would, get the X-Men in there at that point. Jack Ryan, there's a Amazon series for Jack Ryan these days, so I don't see Ford coming back as Jack Ryan. But if you're into Jack Ryan and that stuff, the Tom Clancy stuff, that's actually a pretty good series on Amazon. Better than most of the recent movies that they did. Well, I mean, technically, we've already got a mutant. Namor was kind of, considered a mutant, so we've had our first mutant introduced into the MCU. Omega, will the Spider Verse movies connect? Not really. If you're talking about the animated movies, no, not really. You're talking about the miniseries they did, like, a few years ago. I have not read that. I could see Cavill as Doom, I guess. Who knows? But I mean, I think the question of whether we, and there's so many rumors that fly around, and I take most of them with serious grain of salt. But I mean, obviously, we definitely know Hugh Jackman is making an appearance in Deadpool. But again, with Deadpool, you don't really know how serious that's going to be, or how it's actually going to, like, is Deadpool going to literally, are they going to do something like Deadpool starts out in the 20th Century Fox universe and then steps over into the MCU universe type thing? Is that where they're going to go with it? I don't know. But as far as like the other actors go, I mean, if they wanted to use those actors, I'm sure they could get them. But my guess is Disney probably just wants to start fresh and not use those actors unless we're gonna get more like multiverse shit. But I really don't think when we actually get our MCU X-Men, I don't think you're gonna see them use the 20th Century Fox actors. What do I think? Adam Driver? I don't. Yeah, I think Henry Cavill would probably be a better Doom than Driver. No idea, Michael. No idea. I think the next Disney Plus Marvel project I'm probably most interested in seeing, besides Daredevil, is the X-Men '97 cartoon. I'm hoping that ends up being good. Well, they often cast unknown actors. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, look at Chris Hemsworth. When they first started doing those movies, Chris Hemsworth wasn't that big of a known actor. I mean, yeah, he'd been in a few things. He was in the Star Trek. He was in the Chris Pine Star Trek movie, but he wasn't really like a well-known actor. Chris Evans a little bit more well known just because he'd been in like the Fantastic Four movie and stuff as the Human Torch, but other than Robert Downey Jr., most of those, and Scarlett Johansson, most of those, Jeremy Renner was probably pretty well known, but a lot of them weren't. So I think I would not be surprised if Chris Pratt didn't end up getting cast as Booster Gold in the DC universe. Yeah, I mean, the guy who plays James Rhodes now is pretty well known. So I mean, I'm not saying there were no known actors. I'm just saying a lot of them were not that known. What what, the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie? That was pretty bad. No, I honestly I can't. Just, and Chris Evans, Chris Evans to me took ownership of Captain America. So I would find it hard, to see someone else play Steve Rogers. Chris Hemsworth, I think, is, when he first started out as Thor, I had my doubts, I thought, I definitely feel like they overplay the comedy aspect in the more recent movies, but I like Chris Hemsworth overall as Thor. I will say that I wish, what's his face, who was the first Hulk, the first MCU Hulk in the Hulk movie. Now I forgot his name, but I still kind of wish that he had stayed on, and instead of Mark Ruffalo. I mean, honestly, I knew the name Scarlett Johansson, but I'm trying to think, what movies she was in before, Avengers and stuff, and Iron Man 2. Well, Thor is much more serious in the comics. Yeah, thank you. Ed Norton. Yeah, I kind of wish Ed Norton had remained on as Bruce Banner and the Hulk. Yeah, Yeah, well, that wasn't MCU. The first Hulk movie, the Edward Norton Hulk movie, is considered part of the MCU, even though it was made by a different, it's made by Universal, but it's still part of the MCU. It's got, Tony Stark comes in the after credit scene and stuff. So, and that's when we first saw General Ross. But the Ed Eric Bana Hulk is not MCU, and that was not a good movie. I did not like that movie at all. Whew. It's we're going over 2 hours, so I think we're going to call it a night. But as always, guys, I want to thank you for coming in here tonight and chatting with me and all. It's always great hearing from you guys. I'm going to try and have that Sky Striker review up tomorrow. I've started it, but I haven't finished it, so I won't. If not tomorrow, then Saturday. But I'm going to try and get it up tomorrow. John is strong. For the new Batman movie, I had seen the guy from Cobra Kai. I forget the actor's name, but the guy who plays Johnny Lawrence's son. I saw something where he said he was interested in playing Robin for the new Batman movie. That might work. That guy might work. But who knows who they're actually going to cast. All right, but anyway, so look for Sky Striker review hopefully tomorrow. If not, then Saturday. But as always, guys, thanks for tuning in. Stay safe out there, and until next time, I'll catch you later.
Hey, thanks for watching today's video, and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification to alerted every time I upload a new video. And be sure to head over to the Toy News International and Marvelous News Message Boards communities. It's a great place to talk toys, and win cool contests like $100 store credits to Big Bad Toy Store. And remember, action figures are great,